Okay guys, so in this video I'm going to show you how the Google Loader works, so let's get into it. Now this animation here you may recognize from some of Google's products, and it's kind of, I think it's kind of striking actually. And so kind of thought to myself, well, I'll see if I can recreate this, and basically this is the result. So the way that it works is that it uses an SVG under the hood. And if we look at the markup here, so I've declared this little SVG box here. Well, first and foremost, let's look at the loader to just get that out of the way. It's just a container that holds the SVG, and I set that to a position relative and just some basic dimensions. And then we have the SVG itself that is simply going to be it's just an SVG with an animation that we call rotate, that is going to go over 2 seconds and in a linear fashion, and basically in an infinite fashion just rotate the box. I'll show you let's actually look at that styling immediately just to get this out of the way, because this is the stuff that is fairly simple. So all it does is that it rotates. This animation is just running over 2 seconds and rotating 360 degrees. Easy peasy, right? And then we have a little bit of just an arbitrary view box. And then finally we have the SVG element itself, which is the circle. Now, this is where it gets a little bit fancy, and I have to kind of walk you through some concepts in order for this to make any sense to you. Because the way that it works is that I have two parallel animations that are running together. So I have a dash animation, and that's going to run over 1.5 seconds, ease in, ease out, and then just you run infinitely. And then I have a color, which is going to run over 6 seconds. Now, the way that the color works is hopefully straightforward for you. So I've declared a few variables here, just some colors, and then basically all I do is that I say that, all right, at 100% and at 0% I want the stroke color of my circle to be red, and at 40% it's going to be blue, and then 66% green, and then 90% yellow. That's basically how the animation is going to run, right? But the tricky part comes here, where we have a dash animation where we leverage the dash array and the dash offset in order to create this effect where it looks like the line that is rotating is expanding and then shrinking again, and then it expands and then it shrinks again. And in order for this to kind of make sense in your head and not just be a copy-paste code type of thing for you, I want to show you how that works. So here are some lines that I drew with just some basic stuff, right? So we have a few SVG elements here. So notice this line here in the middle where it looks like it's basically a loader in of itself, where it's just expanding from one side to the other. The way that this works is that I'm using the SVG standards dash array and the dash offset to give you the illusion that this line is actually expanding. But if we look at the first element over here, so the way that if I stop this animation now, this is just a dashed line. And if I remove the stroke offset, you see that these are just, it looks like basically just boxes, right? Well, the way that this works is that the dash array is just a way for you to explain, to tell your browser that, all right, I want there to be a line, but I want it to be a dashed one. If I remove this, it's just a line, but I want to express that I want it to be a dashed line. So I say that, okay, given this line, slice this line up into equal units of 1. In other words, 1 is just an arbitrary number that is relative to the view box. And then if I give it a 2, the line, like the segmentation is actually going to get bigger, and then bigger and bigger and bigger, and I can just keep on increasing this until I actually create a segment or a dash segment that is 30. And the important part here is because the view box itself has a dimension of 30, this means that this one single dash is the same width as my viewport, in other words, the box. Now, I can also express things like this, where I can say that, okay, that's the black area, but I want the white area that comes in this dash pattern to be 1, or 2, or 3. So I can actually, these are two separate dashes, what you're seeing right now. So I can, this makes it more, hopefully more clear. So I can adjust both the dark area and the white area, which is pretty nifty. So what is the dash offset then? Well, that's probably going to make a lot more sense if I do this. I put it to 30, and then I start moving the offset. So if the offset is 0, that means that this one line segment is going to start with an offset of 0. But if I increase this offset, I'm actually moving the line on the left and until I get to the next line segment. So if I make this, just say some smaller number, 25, so it doesn't take up the whole viewport, and I start moving the offset of the dash, you'll see that the first dash is going away and the second one is now coming into play. And I can actually do it in the reverse as well. So I can go from having an offset of 0 and then actually moving this along until I reach the next like dark portion of my segment. And that's exactly what this is all about. All this is doing, this little dash fill-in, we'll actually look at the styling for this. So I have a few paths here. So the first path is the one that you saw earlier, and here we have path number 2. That is simply a dash that is going to be the full viewport, and then it's going to be a dash offset of 30. In other words, it's starting at, it's going to be all the way to the side, and then we're going to make an animation that simply goes from the starting state to having a dash offset of 0. And that's why you see this effect that makes it feel like it's a loader. All I'm doing is basically moving a single dash that is expanded over the entire viewport, or the view box, to the side. That's it. I'm just animating it to the side and then resetting it and animating it again. And I mean, you don't have to just do this for line segments. You can do this for paths as well. So here I have a little bit more of a sophisticated line, which is this thing here, which just has an arbitrary dash array of like a dash offset, and it's basically the same thing. In this case, I'm just alternating instead of running it linearly because I wanted to go backwards and forwards. And this is the way that you can illustrate or like basically animate a line to give the illusion of that it's filling itself out, or growing or shrinking basically. And so that's what's happening here. That's exactly what's happening. So if we look at the dash once again, so what's happening is that, okay, I start at one single dash, and then I have a white space area that is bigger than my viewport, so it looks like the line is fairly empty. Then I grow my dash array to have a bigger, like a portion that basically takes up the entire, like almost the entire view box, and move the offset a little bit. And the same thing goes for the end state. And then I get this nice effect where it's just kind of moving around, or rather like it's growing and then shrinking. If I want to remove the shrinking part, I can simply remove this area here and say, you see that now it's animating in a much slower fashion. So that's basically how you can make a line both shrink and expand and shrink by using the dash array and the dash offset. And together with the color and the rotation, you get this nice loader animation that Google has, which I think is pretty nifty. Hopefully this was useful to you. Have a great day.